Shocking new details and footage. The coronavirus might have started in a lab, and I've seen footage of people collapsing in broad daylight. China is overwhelmed. Health workers crying out in pain because of the chaos happening in China. It may be worse than we know, the coronavirus. But I want to show you something. These shocking new details that came across my attention. We're going to be looking at a few websites. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on boards.4chan.org, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Now I've got some things to show you. The first thing is this. Take a look at this chart, and I gotta make the screen a little bit bigger so you can see. It's some information from the US National Library of Medicine. You can see here, envelope protein, Wuhan seafood market pneumonia virus. Envelope protein, bat SARS-like coronavirus. We've got some information here. And here on the right, we have something from 2020, January 1st, it looks like. Is that January? No, January 13th. Novel coronavirus, complete genome from the Wuhan outbreak, now available in GenBank. So they've sequenced this virus, surprisingly enough. It actually is sequenced, and it's been sequenced since the 13th. But here's the thing. According to this information, it would seem that this coronavirus is actually a virus from a lab. At least that seems to be the theory. But before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
Hong Kong bilingual news. Wuhan coronavirus equal bat SARS-like coronavirus equal biological warfare launched by China. NCBI USA by Chapman Chen, HKB News. So here's a summary. The possibilities of bats transmitting coronavirus to humans is almost nil. But Wuhan's new pneumonia virus is identical to bat SARS-like coronavirus, WRT envelope protein, based on NCBI's BLAST. So the bat virus must have undergone genetic alteration. Well, here you see. It's not supposed to be transmittable to humans, so it's entirely possible that it was genetically altered to be transmissible to humans. They say it is almost impossible for envelope protein to remain intact after a natural mutation. And that's the hint. That's what's so strange. The only explanation left is artificial DNA modification. If the coronavirus is the result of a natural mutation, that envelope should not be so identical. The fact that it is points to the fact that this is man-made, possibly by the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which since about 2007 has collected samples from thousands of bats across the country and done genetic experiments with them. China may have screwed up big time. Here it says, bat SARS-like coronavirus is a virus isolated from Zhushun bats and DNA modified by the China military, so it can be spread between humans. Now, the sequence for this has been online since 2018. Oh, and here's a proof here. There's actually the sequence for the Wuhan seafood market and the bat SARS-like coronavirus. And if you look at the sequence here, it's the one with red letters. As far as I can tell, it's almost completely, if not completely, identical. Same amount as well. Here Anonymous says, yes, it appears to have been engineered by the Chinese and escaped from Wuhan BSL-4 facility. The same way you genetically modify crops, really. Now there's a doctor here that's mentioned. Dr. Gary Adis, 2020, an expert in bat ecology, is adamant on the possibilities of bats transmitting their coronavirus to humans close to zero. And yet here we are. It's not supposed to be transmittable. This was never supposed to happen. You see, the Wuhan P4 lab has carried out a lot of research on bat coronavirus. Anonymous says, I mean, none of us will ever know the truth of what happened. I choose to believe that it escaped containment, either due to lax safety protocols in the labs or in disposing of animals used in testing, say by staff responsible for incinerating the animals, selling them at the market meat instead. Oh, that's something the Chinese would do, as opposed to it being deliberately released in their own nation. I could totally see this as an accident. I could see this as on purpose, but I just think China is a mess. There's a reason I criticize China so heavily. This is one. Anonymous says, numbers are complete bullshit. It's basically over. China is finished and they will be a laughingstock. So all of this is pretty shocking. All of this is fairly shocking. I mean, I gotta say, if this is true, if it was started in a lab, what it means is that it's all China's fault. That all of this is because China was negligent and that it's engineered. Anonymous explains it a little bit more. The virus was engineered through changing the SARS virus, making it worse by genetically engineering it. The way the proteins cross one another is not natural and cannot develop naturally. I explained that earlier. Some of these anons are just memeing, but that's what they're saying. This shouldn't be possible, and yet here we are. So here Anonymous says, in reply to an anon that says this is not good, says, very much not good. We are literally witnessing a biological WMD that went off by accident. And that's entirely possible. But that's the thing. If this coronavirus really did come from a lab, that makes it worse because it's literally designed to, well, be a weapon, to be dangerous. Now imagine China not only downplaying the severity of the infection, not only trying to brush it under the rug, but being directly responsible for this outbreak, directly responsible for this chaos. What if it was worse? What if it was a worse virus? Are we really going to have to live with China? Here you can see. China coronavirus. Wuhan resident describes doomsday scenes as patients overwhelm hospitals. And let me show you some footage. I'm going to show you some footage. So here you can see someone is sick out in broad daylight. They're just walking around. They're infected with coronavirus and they collapse right to the ground. People come to help them. There's another person here you can see that's collapsed. There's another person that's collapsed as medical workers come to assist them. It's pretty much the same story wherever you go. And you can see that the medical apparatuses, the medical infrastructure is overwhelmed. They don't have proper gear. The government is trying to spray areas with disinfectants. I don't know how successful this is supposed to be. This is a hospital. This is how overwhelmed they are. Now let me ask you a question. Allegedly, the virus can be spread through eyes. Hope this is not true because nobody's wearing goggles. And look how close they are together. China is so overpopulated and so densely populated. This is totally not good. I mean, look at all this footage. It's doomsday in China. You don't put millions of people in quarantine if nothing is wrong. Like it's not a joke. Now, you're probably not going to get this kind of news on the news. No, I can't, no one can say for certain where the virus comes from. But I do find it suspect. Things don't add up. Things really don't add up. Wuhan has a lab that literally studies this stuff. There's way more people probably infected than we know. According to Chinese doctors and things on social media, 100,000 infected. Cities on lockdown. And it's highly likely that China knew about this for a long time, but ignored it. Ignored it because they didn't want to shake things up. That's the Chinese way. Status quo. And now it's getting out of hand. Like it's too late. It could be too late. How do we know? Here's a medical worker freaking out at an overwhelmed hospital. Such is life in China. Now, I think the one good thing that's come out of this Corona Chan stuff is all of these memes. Like, there's so many memes. There's so much fan art. Corona Chan. Here you can see a version of her. There's a lot of these exactly. It's kind of funny. Hey, Anon, are you hungry? And it's a collection of different foods. Of course, she's holding a Corona bottle because that's our Corona Chan. Now, here's a scary thing. There's reports, and I've heard this quite a bit, that some people infected with the coronavirus, and I'm aware that it's like a 14-day incubation period, I believe, about 2 weeks. Some people may show symptoms and be able to spread the virus. Here you see an analysis by James Galler, a health and science correspondent. We have a crucial new piece of information. People with no symptoms of infection may be able to spread the virus. Scientists in China have published detailed information in the Lancet Medical Journal on the first cases in this country. and includes information on a child with no outward symptoms, but a clear coronavirus infection in their lungs. In other words, it may be possible to spread this virus without even showing symptoms. Look, I'm not a big on the hysteria. I'm not big on hype. I'm really not. Maybe it will be a nothing burger. Maybe it'll just die off. Or maybe not. There's a lot of viruses in history that were like Corona-chan, and they were ignored. Think about how long Ebola was ignored. What about SARS itself? Ignored for months and months and months, and then it became a big issue. At least those were like natural to an extent, but the coronavirus is different. It's not a virus that's even supposed to be able to impact humans. And the worst part of this is that China itself, they're so corrupt. There's an article by Singapore that says, no need to avoid visiting Wuhan, but take precautions. No need to avoid visiting it? They have entire cities on lockdown in China right now. Millions of people. I mean, it's no joke. Ooh, yeah. Oh, man, I'm looking forward to this version of Corona. You see, once she finally evolves and becomes a super virus that wipes out half of humanity, she will achieve her final form. But you know what, my friends? I think that's pretty much the story. More importantly, there's a little collection of Corona-chans here. And I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want them, because the memes are all we have at this point. The memes are, that's pretty much it, folks. Corona-chan, please spare us. We aren't ready to be embraced by you just yet. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it started in a lab? I'm personally, I don't know. I can't make that call. But what I do know is that what I've seen doesn't look good, and there's a high possibility that it was in a lab, and even if it wasn't, this is still a disaster. They're not telling us the full story. It's popping up all over the world. It's being able to transmit without symptoms. It's mutating. It might be man-made. It shows a readiness to spread and evolve. Corona-chan may be the real deal. Maybe it'll be nothing. Who knows? But be sure to let me know what you think. Now, as always, if you like the content, be sure to join me on Patreon or Subscribestar for as low as $1. There is a joining bonus if you're interested in that sort of thing. Check out the links in my description for more details. You can currently donate via Bitcoin, and sharing the video always helps. I mean, I think a lot of people aren't being told the real story here. The full story, or at least what's going on. Of course, it's all hearsay, it's rumors, it's bits of evidence here and there, but, I mean, who knows? This could be a really big deal. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.